Kia ora, quilters and fibre art enthusiasts and textile lovers. It's Charlotte Scott here, the host of the New Zealand Quilt Show, and I've got another episode for you, which is a continuation of the New Zealand Quilt Symposium roundup that I've been doing. Today I will have another 3 short interviews where we've got Rachel Maw from Annie's Country Quilt Store down in Ashburton in the South Island of New Zealand. I was lucky to catch Kathleen Burford, who is one of the organisers of the Migrant quilt project and exhibition that was showing at Symposium, and it's really interesting listening to her talk about that. And we also get to talk to Bobby Duncan, who is Fabric by 3, which is a fabric dyeing company. So 3 completely different kind of interviews, but they're all interesting, and I think it's a good listen. You might have noticed there's been a little break from podcasting for the last few weeks, and that's because I made a bit of an unscheduled trip to Australia to spend a week with my sister and her brand new baby. His name's Oscar, and he's absolutely delicious, and I was so lucky to be able to spend a real special week with my sister and her new baby. It's her first baby. So, and in my other role in life, I'm not going to say my real job because quilting is part of my real job too, but I am a midwife in my other job. And so I was able to give her a little bit of a reassurance that she was doing everything right and that he was a completely normal newborn baby. And he's just yummy. So that's why we had a little bit of break from podcasting, but we're back into it now. I've got probably another few interviews from Symposium to go, and then we'll have some more in-depth interviews coming up in the new year. So Christmas is approaching fast. I've been making some more gift bags. I like to use fabric gift bags for my Christmas gifts in particular, because I just hate seeing that big sack of gift wrap being chucked out. Single-use stuff doesn't float my boat, so I've been making reusable gift bags, and the best thing about them is it makes wrapping so quick. No sellotape, no scissors. I just stick the gift in the bag, tie up the ribbon, and I use I've got a gift card hole punch that I punch from last year's Christmas cards. I punch out gift tags, so I can just thread them onto the ribbon and write the name, and I'm good to go. It makes Christmas Eve present wrapping so much less stressful. And the other thing that's happening in my little family is we've been as a family, we are going to travel around the South Island of New Zealand for the first 3 weeks of the new year in a 4-wheel drive and with a tent attached to it, and we're going to go wild and woolly and find some unexplored for us, regions to a bit more remote from the usual, and see if we can have a bit of fun with the kids before they get too old and grumpy teenagers and don't want to know us. So I might try and find a few out of the way quilt stores as well, and pop in and have some little interviews with some of them. We'll see how that goes. I might be a bit feral with camping, and no one might not want to know me. So we'll see. But enjoy the interviews that I've got for you today, and I hope you have a quilty and creative day, and we will catch up with you soon. So I've made it to the Merchants Mall, and the first lucky person that I'm going to question deeply is Rachel from Annie's Country Quilt Store. So, deep and meaningful questions. Who's Annie?
Annie is me, Rachel Ann.
Aha, right. I have always wondered, and I don't know if anyone else has wondered too. So can you talk to us what you've got in your stall here? Because there are some beautiful fabrics.
Well, it's sort of an eclectic mix of, so we've got some Japanese, and there is a quilt with a New Zealand focus. My first love is reproduction fabric, so we've got quite a bit of that, some dye-forward fabric, new quilt in the back there from Leonie Bateman, just having a mental blank. And then we go through to some Annie Downs projects, and lots of Sue Spargo wool, the Sue Spargo threads, and lots of her patterns and books and things that everybody needs.
So if I came to your store, I would see the similar kind of spread. Reproduction is your thing, and some of that Sue Spargo thrown in?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. And I see that you've got some awesome little samples made up. Do you make them yourself?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's sort of a big focus in our store, that everything sells better if people can see the sample and see what it looks like made up. So I spend a lot of my time making samples and making up kits, and hopefully inspiring the customers to give it a go.
Excellent. And where can we find Annie's Country Quilt Store?
On the main highway, just south of Ashburton.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's north of Christchurch?
South of Christchurch.
South
1
of
hour
Christchurch.
south of Christchurch.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, I'm thinking of another A. You can tell I'm not from the South Island, can't you? Okay, and you do a newsletter?
Yes, every week. We send it out to just about every quilter in the country and quite a lot overseas. But yeah, we usually have a bit of a what's happening in the store and what's new, and a recipe each week.
The recipe. I wanted to say about the recipe. They're really popular.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. That's one of my favourite bits of the newsletter too.
Yes, apart from collecting fabric, I collect recipes. So.
Cool. And how has Symposium been for you so far? Because we're into the third day of classes, but fourth day for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, it's really neat to catch up with lots of customers and people, friends that I've made over the years, and everybody's very enthusiastic and excited, and it's just a really neat buzz to be here and amongst a whole group of crazy like-minded stitchers.
And so what has been really popular this time? What's moving out of the store really fast that might be different from last time?
I think, well, it depends what you're into, what your focus is, but the Sue Spargo fabrics have been really, the Sue Spargo threads have been very popular, and lots of the classes are focusing on that, but also the Japanese fabric and the sashiko. We've also had quite a lot of double-sided Japanese fabrics, which have been really popular.
Cool, yeah.
So just...
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I see that you've got the Sue Spargo wool. Is that Sue Spargo's wool, or it's wool anyway? And has that been very popular? Because wool seems to be a thing now,
it has.
isn't it?
And just showing people what you can do with it. This quilt in the front here, this is a work in progress, but it is the new Annie Downs block of the month that we're working on with the wool and the hanky linen, and it's quite nice for people to get the idea that you can combine textures, like the cotton and the wool. And this one from Leonie Bateman is wool on cotton as well, with the applique.
It is too.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I think of wool, I often think of little woolen pin cushions with woolen designs on top. But actually, this is cotton or linen fabric with woolen applique on top, and that's quite robust. Yeah, you could use it as a normal quilt, wash it.
You could, but I think
you'd put in so much work, you wouldn't want to use it as a normal quilt.
But I think with any quilt, you treat them with care, and you're creating heirlooms. That's what I believe anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for taking the time to talk to me.
No problem.
So I've got the pleasure of talking to Kathleen Burford for just a few minutes while I've managed to catch her about the Migrant quilt exhibition that's on at the moment. So Kathleen, can you tell us a little bit about what this program is that you run?
About 18 years ago, a friend and I were going out for a walk, and she told me how lonely the women were, the migrant, mainly the refugee women at that time. And I just said, well, maybe I could teach them to quilt. So we started with our own sewing machines. We had 5 women, 4 helpers, and a box of squares. And since then, we've had over 400 women. We've had, they've probably made about 5 quilts each, so I guess that's over 2,000 quilts. All the fabric just about without exception, has been donated from all over New Zealand. We don't charge, and no one is paid. We just rely on donations.
Wow, and so where are these women coming from?
Everywhere. We try and have 2 from every culture. So we might have a lot of refugees, and we might have migrants as well. So we would have women from Ethiopia and Somalia. Then we would have Japanese and Chinese and Korean. We have Russian. I tried to count up one day how many different cultures that we had. And by doing this, it forces them to actually interact with other cultures. We also learn, as volunteers, we learn a lot from them.
I bet.
And from the original students, we've got 5 women who are now teachers.
Oh, fabulous.
So you can pick the ones that have got particular talent, and so we use them.
So if I was a migrant woman and I was joining the program, how long does it run for, those sorts of things?
Right, it's every Monday from 10 o'clock to 1, and it's for 3 hours. It's during the term time. So they come in and we all set the hall up, and the machines have got out and ironing boards put up and everything. And then they sew till 11 o'clock, and everyone has to down tools and go into the supper room. And generally they bring a plate or some of their own ethnic food. So for half an hour we sit and we share the week, because a lot of these women have no one to share problems or just general life, or they did something that was exciting, or we've even had them with breast cancer or other things that they've been able to share, and we've been able to help. So it's just a week, it's just half an hour. Some of the Muslim women are usually fasting, and so they do sit. Even during Ramadan, everyone has to take that 30 minutes out. And that's really special, and lots of laughter and things like that.
So you're not just teaching a skill, you're encouraging interaction, you're forming connections.
Very much so. Yeah, I think friendships are the greatest thing. I remember a friend of mine saying that poverty's got many faces and loneliness is the greatest of these all. And a lot of these women, they come and they just sit in the house all day, and they can't even go shopping or catch a bus because they can't read the labels and they can't read the signage.
So it's also, you're encouraging English skills as well?
Well, if it's possible, we actually find English skills for them and we send them off to classes.
Right.
Some of them,
class,
some of them go to classes, and we had a little bit of problem where they were bunking their English classes to come to quilting, so we had to do that. It just happens and it just evolves, and it's really word of mouth. People will know of a lonely migrant woman or a lonely refugee woman, and they will come and tell me, and we have a waiting list, and often there's a lot of perhaps Chinese women or maybe Korean women, so they don't get in as quickly, whereas you might get a lady from Iran or from Kurdistan or somewhere like that, and there's no other woman from her culture, so they sort of get priority.
Right.
In the beginning, we had 8 Afghani women, and it became quite difficult because some of them belonged to different sects and they wouldn't speak to each other. And
so much consideration goes into
it's
this
learning.
Mixing,
yes,
isn't it? So
yes,
you've learnt a lot too, I'm
we've
sure.
learnt a lot, and you do learn. You learn as you go on, and if there's a situation, it's never a problem to sort it out.
So if I went to the exhibition, what am I going to see? Because I haven't yet.
Yeah. What are you going to see? Well, you're going to see some quilts that will absolutely amaze you, because most of these ladies have never used a sewing machine before. And as one of my helpers said, it's quite a worry when they sew better than you after the first quilt they've made. The fabric is not brought from a shop. We have a shed and it's just full of fabric, mainly bits and pieces. You'll see that some have outstanding talent, you'll see that some have mediocre, but they all look beautiful because they choose the colours. So you can sort of read the colours of their culture, and that's what's great. We start them with a simple pattern, and everyone does that simple, sort of like a 9-patch block. And they're all different colours, so they all look slightly different.
So what has been some of the comments from the women participating in this course?
They call us their second family. And my big problem is after 2 years they have to move on because the group wouldn't evolve, and they really get upset and they try everything to stay, and they beg and carry on. So because really there's nowhere else for them to go.
So do they ever form their own groups?
Some of the migrant women will, like the Chinese and Japanese and Koreans will. The others haven't. Well, they've got their own communities, and I've tried. We have some Muslim women, and they sort of have tried to get a group together, but it isn't sort of easy for them. They're basically trying to keep their culture. They're trying to teach their children the language and the Quran and things like that. And like a lot of the Japanese women, their children go to school on Saturday. I've learnt so much about these other cultures, how dedicated they are. They live in New Zealand, but they are dedicated to their own culture, and I think that's amazing because the next generation will be Kiwis, but they'll also understand where they're from.
So how many more years are you going to do this program, Kathleen?
Well, until my health packs up. I don't know. I will just carry on. When I've been away, I've been in hospital a couple of times, and I've got 2 or 3 good volunteer helpers who can just take over.
Right. So you've got support behind you.
I have. It's mainly my duty to get funding and to make sure that we've got threads and cutters and that sort of thing.
So if anyone has fabrics, good quality fabrics, or as you say, rotary cutters or threads that they want to donate, how could they do that?
They could email me.
Which, do you want to say your email address on here?
Yeah, it's senior, SENIOR, Burfords, BURFORDS, @gmail.com.
Awesome, thank you.
That's fine.
And thank you very much for taking the time to
Thanks,
talk
Charlotte.
to me. I know we've just finished a busy class together and we're both like, whoa, exhausted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have moved on to another merchant, the lovely Bobby Duncan of Fabric by 3. But this isn't just you, is it? Fabric by 3 refers to
my husband John and his sister Liz.
And John just ran away. He doesn't want to talk to me.
He doesn't like being interviewed.
Oh,
no.
Gosh.
He might say the wrong thing.
So who and what is Fabric by 3?
We are a fabric dyeing business. So every week we dye about 50 metres of fabric.
Oh, only 50?
Only
Gosh.
50.
Oh my gosh.
And John runs the website. We're an internet shop only. Though you can come and visit us if you like, but please ring first to make sure that we're at home.
And you've
Because we do go shopping occasionally.
you have to eat. So
Yes.
when I walk into your stall, I am assaulted by colour.
Yes.
Is that your thing, is it?
That is my thing. I don't like working in greys and blacks or muted colours myself, and therefore I dye bright colours.
So how did this start? How did Fabric by 3 start?
It started after Wellington Symposium. I was convener of Wellington Symposium, and Paulette Meldrum was the co-convener. And at the end of that time we were absolutely wiped out and had no creativity left in us, so we did City and Guilds from London on the internet. And a part of that course was that you had to dye all your own fabric from all your own samples, but you were only allowed to use the 3 primary colours, and black and white, and then create your own fabric. And after that we just kept dyeing. And we ended up with the great big grey bread bins. We had about 4 of those full of fat quarters, and thought, we have to do something with this. We can't keep doing this. And then one of the guilds in the hut organised a day called Fabrication, where you could take along your fabric and sell it. So we thought, we'll give it a go. If it sells, we'll create a business from it. And we came home with no fabric.
Obviously.
So we set up a company, and never looked back. Although the membership of the company has changed.
Yes, yeah.
Paulette's gone off to do her own thing. Then Cheryl Meach was part of us for a while, and she's now doing her own thing. So now it's the three of us, and we're family, so we'll probably keep going.
You rub along all right together. And if you don't, you can forgive each other, because you're family.
Yes.
Okay, so when I first walked in, I went, oh, look at these. Now, can you tell me what these quilts are that I'm looking at?
Right, you're looking at our challenge for this year. And every year we do an iconic landscape challenge. So you buy a kit set which has a photograph of somewhere in New Zealand, a piece of fabric, and you go away and you create something.
Okay.
And in the past it's been only web voting. This year we've put them up at Symposium. They'll then come down, they'll be on our website for 2 weeks for web voting. And then we will count the votes. The winner gets $250 in cash, and then there are merit prizes of vouchers from our shop.
Fabulous. And what size are these?
These are 15 inches square.
15 inches square. And your inspirational landscape this year was?
It's the Tonkaparota Beach rocks, which are north of New Plymouth on Taranaki, and they used to be called the Elephant Rocks. So we have these really interesting quilts with elephant sort of connotations.
We obviously have the ones that are landscape based, and then we have these ones with elephant parts on them, and it's really quite fabulous. You can see the colour theme obviously running through it with your piece of fabric that people are working with, but the interpretations are just wonderful. So congratulations to all the entrants from that, if you're listening to this. So what else can I find in your shop, Bobby?
You can find stencils. We have a very wide range of stencils, and we encourage people to go into doing surface design experiments, really. So we have fabric paints and Fabrico pens, and we also are great fans of English paper piecing. So any size or shape of paper piecing you may want, come to us and we will have it.
Excellent.
And if we don't have it, we'll get it in for you.
And what else? There's wool here as well?
Oh yes, we do upcycled wool blankets. So I buy blankets from the op shop and wash them thoroughly and then dye them. Yeah.
And people often get concerned about hand-dyed fabrics. I'm going to ask you the question. And people say, what about colour fastness?
We do our very best to make sure that it is colour fast, and it has been washed in very hot water with detergent, and then we do spot checks from time to time by dunking a piece in a cup and seeing if it'll leach. But with any dyed fabric, if you live in a different area, the minerals in your water will be different, which may cause your fabric to then leach. And I would always recommend that people wash it before they use it. Certainly if it is red or purple, they are the worst for leaching out.
We love red, don't we?
We do.
Now what I've found, and I want this to get out there, so I'm going to say it now with my hand-dyed fabrics, that I can wash and wash and wash them and they will not be leaching at all. But if I leave them damp, sitting, that is when, if I'm ever going to get a colour leach, that's when, and it's really only with that red one. If you wash a quilt and you leave it then sitting in a damp pile in your washing machine for half a day, that is when, if I'm ever going to get a colour leach, that is when I get it. So I encourage people to wash them for sure, but take care and dry them fast.
Yes, and that's absolutely right, and that will happen with commercial fabric
absolutely
as well.
Yes, found that too.
And I have found it on one quilt that I had quilted with red thread.
Yes.
And the thread leached.
Yes. So it's not just fabric. We have these problems everywhere. So how has Symposium been for you?
It has been fantastic.
All
Absolutely loved it. It's such a buzz to be here.
Yeah.
And I love meeting all the new people that we meet that we haven't been in contact with before. And then people who've been to classes with us and things, because we do teach dyeing classes as well.
Cool.
And they come up and say, oh, look, this is how it turned out and I've used it in this class, which is just marvellous. Yes.
So where can people find you if they want to know more?
They can find us on our website, which is fabricby3.com.
And 3 is a word or a number?
Word, all lowercase, all one word, Fabric by 3.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me, Bobby.
Not a problem. Lovely.
You've been listening to the New Zealand Quilt Show. I'm your host, Charlotte Scott. please visit my blog, theslightlymadquiltlady.blogspot.com, for show notes for this episode and any more information you might need. Email me, theslightlymadquiltlady@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, so please don't be shy. And the music for this podcast is Crunk Night by Kevin MacLeod of Impromptu Tech.